For every loved dragon, there is also one hated by everyone. Starting with Vhagar, the ancient she-dragon who made headlines in the fandom for all the wrong reasons. As one of the last survivors of Aegon's conquest era, Vhagar began as a living relic of Targaryen glory. But by the time she bonded with young Aemon Targaryen, she became the very face of fear. The moment Aemond claimed her on Driftmark, stealing the dragon Lena Velaryon once rode, many viewers instantly turned on both rider and mount. That resentment exploded when Vhagar brutally killed Lucerys Velaryon and his dragon Arax in a storm over Shipbreaker Bay, shattering any illusion that dragons were simply tools to be controlled. What was meant to be a warning flight spiraled into a massacre in the clouds, with Arax torn apart and Lucerys vanishing into the sea. From then on, Vhagar was no longer just a war asset. She became the embodiment of uncontrollable power, grief, and the first true, irreversible bloodshed of the Dance of the Dragons. But while Vhagar's story is soaked in hatred and terror, Caraxes, the Blood Worm, left behind a completely different legacy in the hearts of fans. Written by Daemon Targaryen, Caraxes is instantly recognizable. Long, snake-like body, blood-red scales, and a scream that sounds less like a roar and more like a metal blade tearing through the sky. Instead of seeing him as a mindless monster, viewers came to love him as the perfect reflection of Daemon himself. Dangerous, unpredictable, but fiercely loyal. Caraxes' presence in battle is pure chaos, yet fans celebrate every frame he's in. Whether he's twisting through the air over stepstones or circling other dragons with a predatory grace, the Blood Worm feels like an old warrior who lives for the fight but never forgets his bond. Poll after poll in the fandom regularly pushes Caraxes to the top of favorite dragon rankings, proving that even the most fearsome designs can become the most loved when paired with charisma and purpose. But while Caraxes rules fan hearts, Sunfyre the Golden finds himself in a strange place, praised and despised at the same time. On the surface, Sunfyre is everything a Targaryen could dream of. Described as the most beautiful dragon ever to fly, with golden scales that shine like molten metal in the sun, he looks less like a beast of war and more like a living crown. As Aegon II's mount, his silhouette alone screams royalty, power, and divine right. Yet the more the war drags on, the more fans add Sunfyre to their most hated lists. Behind the glittering gold is a trail of ruined lives and dead dragons, from the killing of the shy Grey Ghost to the brutal clash with Moondancer. Every time Sunfyre appears in battle, another dragon seems to fall, tying his name not just to beauty but to cruelty and savage domination. People may admire how he looks, may call him stunning, iconic, or perfect in design. But they also spit his name when they talk about Aegon II's brutality and the high cost of his reign. On the opposite side of that emotional divide stands Balerion the Black Dread, whose legend stretches far beyond any single war. Though long dead by the time of House of the Dragon, Balerion's shadow still hangs over every Targaryen dragon that comes after him. As the Mount of Aegon the Conqueror, he melted Harrenhal, helped forge the Iron Throne, and carved the original meaning of fire and blood into the bones of Westeros. For many, he is not just a dragon, he is the dragon. Fans rarely place Balerion on hated lists, despite the horrifying destruction attached to his name. Instead, they talk about him with awe, reverence, and a kind of nostalgic fear. Compared to the chaos and clumsiness of later writers, Balerion's story feels mythic, as if dragons were once wielded with a terrible but purposeful hand. In almost every ranking of Targaryen dragons, the Black Dread is either at the top or hovering just below. A permanent symbol of what dragons were meant to be, world breakers and kingmakers in one colossal body. However, where legends like Balerion inspire awe, some dragons provoke something closer to disgust. Deep in the lore of Dragonstone lurks the Cannibal, a wild black dragon known not for conquering cities but for devouring his own kind. Unlike the bonded dragons who imprint on Targaryen riders, the Cannibal wants nothing to do with saddles, commands, or banners. He stalks the volcanic slopes, feasting on dragon corpses, eggs, and even young hatchlings. For many fans of the deeper lore, the Cannibal is the closest thing the Targaryen stable has to a true villain. He doesn't burn armies for crowns or cities for conquest. He turns his hunger inward, tearing apart the very legacy dragons are meant to continue. Even among fire-breathing monsters, a dragon that eats its own eggs feels like a step too far. So in discussions and debates, when people talk about the most feared and morally evil dragon, The cannibal's name almost always rises out of the smoke. Meleys, the Red Queen, earns love less through legend and more through grace and courage. Written by Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, Meleys stands out with her elegant red and pink coloring, streamlined body, and regal presence. In the sky, she looks less like a brute and more like a dancer, moving with a speed and smoothness that justify her royal title. What truly sealed Meleys in fan hearts, though, was her final stand at Rook's Rest. Facing both Vhagar and some fire, two dragons larger and more brutal than she, Meleys and Rhaenys dive into a hopeless battle anyway. The clash becomes a fiery crucifixion in the sky, a moment of impossible bravery ending in death. For many viewers and readers, that scene transforms Meleys from pretty dragon with a cool nickname into a symbol of defiance, dignity, and choosing to face impossible odds rather than bow. But not every wild dragon earns mythic fear like the cannibal. Some end up hated for being savage, ugly, or simply too uncontrollable for comfort. Sheep Stealer, another wild dragon haunting Dragonstone, lives up to his name by relentlessly attacking flocks and burning shepherds' livelihoods to ash. Covered in a rough, unattractive hide and lacking the dramatic colors of royal mounts, Sheep Stealer is easy for some fans to dismiss as a nasty background menace. Stories of would-be riders trying to claim him often end badly, with the dragon responding to ambition with fire, claws, and death. For those who only see him as an unrideable, sheep-devouring monster, Sheep Stealer lands squarely in the hated category, a brutal reminder that not every dragon wants a saddle, and some would rather roast your village than help your claim. Yet, as soon as Nettles enters the picture and slowly wins his trust with stolen sheep and patient feeding, a new side appears. To a smaller slice of the fandom, Sheep Stealer becomes something else entirely. Proof that even a savage, despised dragon can respond to genuine care. While Sheep Stealer's reputation is complicated, other dragons inspire almost pure affection. Morning, a small pink dragon born near the end of the dance, never grows large enough to become a major weapon, and that is exactly why deep lore fans adore her. In a story drowning in ash, betrayal, and dragon corpses, Morning feels like a fragile candle left flickering after a storm. She is the last new Targaryen dragon of that bloody era, a tiny creature representing the idea that dragons and the family bound to them might still have a future. Instead of being associated with massacres and war crimes, Morning is tied to recovery, survival, and the distant possibility of peace. When people talk about their favorite small or symbolic dragons, her name quietly appears as a beloved footnote, not the loudest, not the strongest, but the one that whispers that all this suffering might not be the end of the story. But hatred in the fandom does not always come from evil deeds. Sometimes a dragon becomes hated simply for being disappointing under the weight of expectation. Syrax, the dragon of Rhaenyra Targaryen, is a prime example. In theory, Syrax should be one of the most celebrated dragons, Mount of the Black Queen, symbol of her claim, and a central beast in the dance. Instead, many viewers and readers complain that Syrax rarely gets the grand defining moments granted to others. When fans rank the dragons, Syrax is often mocked as underwhelming, useless, or poorly used in war. Her role in the Dragon Pit chaos, where dragonfire contributes to the deaths of small folk and uncontrolled destruction, only worsens that reputation, rather than seeing a proud queen of the skies. Critics see a dragon overshadowed by her rider's drama and outclassed by monsters like Vhagar and Caraxes. Syrax isn't truly evil, but she still ends up on hated lists as the embodiment of wasted potential. On the brighter side, not all lesser dragons are dismissed so harshly. Some, like Vermax and others of his generation, gain affection for their growth arcs and struggles rather than overwhelming power. And standing above many of them in the realm of fan love is the Golden Sunfire, opposite in spirit. Dragons who may not be the strongest, but capture hearts through design, personality, or the rider they bond with. At the end of the day, no dragon can ever truly be loved or hated on its own. What it really comes down to are the riders who guide them, the wars they're unleashed in, and the choices that turn flame into either legend or nightmare. So, which side are you on, team most loved or team most hated? Let us know which dragon you'd ride into battle. Hit like if you survived the fire, subscribe for more House of the Dragon breakdowns, and watch our next video to dive even deeper into Targaryen history.